The vast majority of humanity are astrally polarized. Over 90% of humanity are polarized on the astral plane. In other words, the consciousness is still that of the Atlantean root race, which was a race which lasted before the Aryan race. We are part of the Aryan race, nothing to do with Mr. Hitler's idea of Aryan, but we are part of that Aryan race which began about 100,000 years ago. We, that is, Europeans and Americans, are the fifth sub-race of that Aryan race. And the race before that, the Atlantean race, lasted for 12 million years, for a very long time. So there are a great many subdivisions in that race. And before that was the Lemurian race, which lasted 6 million years. So some people have gone through the Lemurian race from early animal man, and the aim of the Lemurian race was to perfect the physical vehicle. We have a physical vehicle, an astral or emotional vehicle, and a mental vehicle. These are the three vehicles for the soul to use when in incarnation. We tend to identify with the physical vehicle and the astral vehicle and the mental vehicle, but they are not us. The soul is us, and these are simply vehicles for the use of the soul when in incarnation. However, so long and so connected are we with the physical plane and the emotional or astral plane and the mental plane that we tend to think that that's the sum total. That's where we have consciousness. Now, the polarization is the seat of your consciousness. Early animal man, working through the Lemurian age, had the job of perfecting the physical vehicle. He did it very well, and that, at the end of the age, early humanity, as it was, had a very solid physical vehicle, strong, well-developed, well-coordinated, and so on. And then people began to incarnate, rather more advanced people, from what's called the moon chain. The moon was populated before the earth was populated, and the cream of humanity came from the moon chain into the Lemurian and early Atlantean races. For instance, someone like the Buddha came from the moon, and the very earliest and most advanced types came from the moon chain into the earth chain. And this, now the moon is extinct, it's a dead planet, but it still has astral, emotional life there. But as far as its evolution is concerned, it ceased to be a planet. The aim of Atlantean man was to perfect the astral emotional vehicle. It took 12 million years, 12.5 million years to do so, and did so well that it's still the most powerful vehicle that humanity has. The astral emotional vehicle is so powerful that the vast majority of people, even of the Aryan race, are still Atlantean in consciousness. The astral plane is the seat of their consciousness, and a tiny proportion of that mass of people are polarized on the mental plane. For them, the mental plane is the seat of consciousness. That doesn't mean to say that people who are astrally polarized can't think. Such people make computers, use computers, develop all sorts of weird and wonderful gadgets. Be that as it may, the vast majority are still Atlantean in consciousness. And that proceeds up until the person is definitely 1 foot in the hierarchy of masters. In other words, he is to a tiny degree initiate. There are 5 great expansions of consciousness called initiation, the planetary initiations, which cover the last few lives of the evolutionary process. When I say the last few, that few might be quite a number, but it's still the last few compared with the hundreds of thousands that preceded it. And when the disciple has come, or rather the aspirant has come to a point where he is able to take the first initiation, the first expansion of consciousness, which pertains to the control of the physical elemental which makes up your physical body. This solid physical body is the result of the activity of tiny angelic or devic lives, tiny, minuscule little devic lives whose activity make up the planes, the physical body, the astral body, and the mental body. Even the mental body, so-called, is a body, and it's made up of tiny mental elementals. And mental elementals, it's interesting. It's interesting how that came to be. But so it is. Nature works wonders. And the mental elementals are the high point in the elemental forces which make up the human body, the physical body, the astral emotional body, and the mental body. All of these are the work of tiny devic or angelic evolutions. And the angelic or devic evolution is a parallel evolution to the human and is massive. I mean, billions upon billions of different, some tiny, all the way up to the human. They are coming to the human. They are parallel to the human, and they're at the human stage, and they go on above, and they become eventually archangels who are like masters only on the devic or angelic evolution. It's vast, huge, and there are masters whose sole activity is working with, dealing with the angelic evolution. The human evolution has 63 masters in connection with it, of whom the highest is the Christ, the world teacher, the Lord Maitreya. He is one of 3 lords, as they're called, the great lords, the lords of compassion. And then the masters of wisdom are 60, kept at the number 60, as far as the human evolution is concerned. I mean, many more masters become masters, but they go on to other work, they leave this planet, they go on to higher planets, or as I said earlier, out of the system altogether. There are 7 ashrams in the hierarchy of the spiritual hierarchy of our planet, and these are divided into 7. So there are seven major ashrams headed by a major master, 6th degree initiate called a Chohan, and from these stem 6 other ashrams with masters on most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And everyone, when they become a disciple, is a disciple of a particular ashram, depending on the ray or quality of the energy governing their soul. So if you're a first-ray soul, you go to a first-ray ashram. If you're a second-ray soul, to a second-ray ashram, and so on. And Maitreya is the head of all the masters, the master of all the masters. And they look up to him as a teacher, as we would look up to the masters as teachers.